Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Journey Through the Innerverse. I am really happy to be here tonight with you, Alexis, of course, always, and with those of you who are with us here. And tonight we're going to be talking about dreams in media. This is one of our series, our ongoing series, and this is actually the second episode. So we've only had one other one, which was on Insidious. So definitely check that out. Tonight we're going to be talking about Monkeybone, which I haven't. This is my first time seeing it, so I'm really excited to chat with Alexis about it. But how are you doing, Alexis?
I'm doing good. I'm tired. I didn't sleep that well last night, but honestly, I'm in good spirits. And I'm also very excited to talk about this topic. Monkey Bone is one of my favorite movies, and I got inspired like a week and a half ago rewatching it, and I was like, oh, this would be an amazing topic to like deep dive for the podcast. And so when you were like, yeah, that sounds great, I was like, yes.
Yeah. And it
Um,
was like when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, like this is it was so fun. But
It's
anyway.
so juicy. It's so juicy. I can't wait to get into it. But anyway, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm definitely feeling the like afterglow of the full moon.
Mhm.
Is it still a full moon technically, or is it back to gibbous right
I
now?
mean,
Wax
it'll reach
gibbous.
its waning
Waning.
gibbous on I think tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay,
Or
so
it was
yeah.
either today or tomorrow. But I mean, it's still potent. Like and I saw it this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just as the sun was rising, because I get up freaking early, not
Of
by
course.
choice. But it was high in the sky and it was still pretty like powerful and bright. And I was just like, oh my gosh, no wonder I was going crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely a powerful one, and I know I my birthday was on Friday, and then I went into like the full moon, kind of like entering into a new decade of my life. But it just kind of was very emotional and powerful. And yeah, it was a good full moon for me, I have to say. Or I should say it was a beneficial and definitely beneficial to my journey right now. But how are you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing really well today. For me, on the flip side, that full moon really brought to illumination to a lot of things that I've been probably running from, I guess you could say. And I'm really happy that I eventually faced it. Like I felt like I almost didn't have a choice because I was literally kind of suffocating in some ways. And I just felt just, I don't, I just felt like I was backed into a corner, like the moon backed me into a corner. And so after I, shared what was coming up with me and really took action towards, facing my fear, then I felt a lot better. And like progressively, the days are getting better. And I am still navigating this energy, but it's definitely a lot lighter. So I'm grateful to that full moon. And the full moon was a super moon, and there are actually going to be three more. So that's going to be really interesting how that unfolds and just the intensity and how, we connect with it and navigate that energy. Because I know a lot of people, it was intense. And then I know a lot of people where it was just, it was a blessing and it was just really good, beneficial. And I think that day was when you got your desk, right? Is that when you
Yeah,
like put it? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yep.
I was like, wow, that's a nice, gift. And I felt, just knowing your chart, that felt in alignment because your sixth house is ruled by Aries, which is, yeah, it's an area of life that rules health and wellness. And I got that side of the the coin, I guess you could say. But it's also about your routines and like your habits and how they support your wellness and your intentions and so forth. And also there's a capacity of your routines that support your work. So the fact that you got a new desk on the day of the full moon is really, that's a powerful statement of support for you and excitement because of course you have a new desk and you're going to be eager to like sit there and just I love it. It's a beautiful desk. So
Yeah, so if you guys didn't know, I got a new desk. I got myself a new desk for my birthday. I had been saying that I wanted to get it for a while, kind of like tossing around the idea, but not really pulling the trigger with that. And Sunday morning I woke up and I was like, I really do want to get a new desk for myself. Like I'm entering into a phase in my life where I really want to lean into learning a lot and really honing in on my rituals and taking time to just, sit and be with myself and be studious, just to grow my understanding of what I love, dream work, and more. Um, and I kid you not, like I go on Facebook Marketplace because I knew I wanted something that was antique. And if you guys know Facebook Marketplace, that's the place to go if you want anything. People are literally just giving things away because they don't want it anymore. It's taking up space. So yeah, so I pulled up Facebook Marketplace, and the desk that I got was the first listing. And I didn't even look up desk. I just
It
pulled
was
it up.
so
It was
meant
like
to
the
be.
first listing, and it's this
Yeah.
beautiful like oak hardwood desk. It's 100 years old. It has this Art Nouveau style carvings in the portal drawers, and it's has so much more space than I thought it even could. Like thought that I thought I was gonna fill all the drawers. I have three huge drawers that are still completely empty because I did
I want to see how long it takes for you to fill.
I know.
I have
I'm
a feeling it's
hoping
not going
that
to take long.
what I'm hoping to do is be intentional with the way I fill it up, because I know like I have ADHD and I can kind of like doom box things, put them in a bag or put them in a box and then put them somewhere and forget about the box. Like it's one of those things. I'm trying not to make this desk one of those like doom box
Well, it's a lot
situations.
bigger than what I thought. And I'm
Yeah.
really inspired because I need a new desk. And I don't even know why we're on this tangent, but it is what it is. But like my desk that I'm at right now is an old secretary. I don't know how old it is, but it has kind of like the same similar vibe. Like I don't know if I've showed you pictures, but basically it's like one of the ones that fold out, right? But then there are
Yep.
little drawers, like little cubbies, and then it has like
Yeah.
a middle little cabinet, but then also like these little hideaway, like I guess you can store
Like
like I guess like
cubbies.
slots, yeah, like
Like
cubbies.
cubbies. Yeah.
Um, so I don't know, I love it, but it's not big enough. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get something modern. But then I saw yours and I was like, actually, that's like a really good size. So maybe I can find, I mean, obviously I can find a bigger old desk because I love like real.
Especially in your area. I
Yeah, that's
feel
true.
like your
Very true.
area, there's a lot of like what I see like in regards to like home listing and stuff is there's a lot of beautiful
Hmm.
homes that are like really old with so much character. I'm sure you can find a
Yeah.
bunch of beautiful things on like marketplace around your area, especially like desks and stuff. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where I was at. My desk was really small. It was like 30, $40 at Target, and it did the job for as long as I needed it to, but I just was ready to move on to something that could kind of match my character and aesthetic. And I love furniture with history. Like I I bring it in and it's like it already has its own life that it lived before it got to me, and it's just it's so cool. And even when I went to pick it up, like the people that sold it to me, they were just after we were done talking, I felt like I had known them forever, and I was like, this is such a weird like
Yeah.
coincidence. It's such a
Meant
weird
to be.
occurrence to happen, everything working out as well as it did. But that being said, this moon definitely shined a light on a lot of things that I have also been kind of running away from and neglecting. And it being an Aries moon, I think it lit a fire under all of our asses a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit.
Oh yeah. Me for sure. And also, everyone, just be gentle with yourself. You don't have to do it perfectly, or you don't even have to do it all at once. This is a conversation I'm having with myself about many things. Because I'm like, okay, you're taking steps. Just because you're not like fully like immersed in it or just doing all the things doesn't mean it doesn't count. Like you're taking steps towards, what is, like you're moving through the fear basically. So I'm happy
Absolutely.
about
And I feel like we don't give ourselves the small victories we deserve to keep
that.
us moving through. We see that big goal and we know it's going to be a while to get to that big goal, so we kind of get we have like the anticipation and the impatience in a way, you
Which is
know.
Aries
It
energy
it
too.
is it
Like want to
is
be in the moment and like want things now, and you have to learn patience.
Absolutely. But being
Yeah.
patient and being kind to yourself and giving yourself grace and like you know, I know that my path is gonna, I mean, I'm gonna learn, well, I hope that I'm going to continue to learn and grow and gain more knowledge throughout my entire life. But like getting this desk was kind of like a symbol and a starting point for me to kind of start preparing myself for these next steps in my process. So it's like a big victory, but also a small step in like a long staircase. But yeah, I definitely feel that fire and the action coming through, you know, even something that's been circling in my head is like you can want something, you can say you want it, you can say you want it, but if you don't actually put in the time and discipline and effort and action to get to that point, you're never going to reach the point. You're never going to reach the goal if all you do is say you want it and not put any of the bricks down to get it. So I'm getting that in my head too, because I'm somebody who will say I want to do this and never put any effort into doing it. And when it comes to like small steps, like, you know, the last couple nights I've been going to bed a little earlier, and it's not much earlier, but it's a little
A
earlier,
little
and I'm
bit,
doing it.
yeah.
And I'm doing it.
And the
Like
intention,
it's
yes, is
yes. And
there.
like as I go through the week, I'm sure I'll be able to get a better bearing on, you know, pushing that bedtime closer and closer to where my goal really is.
Mhm.
So be gentle and kind on yourselves.
All right, so we just have one quick announcement, and that is about Dream Egos. Do you want to share, since you have it all like a flow?
Yeah,
Waste anybody's
sure.
time.
So Urania and I are working with a developing app called Dreamigos. It's a fantastic dream recording app. It has multiple ways for you to record your dreams, and you can choose to either keep them private for yourself or you can submit them to the Dreamline. The Dreamline gives you the opportunity to have guidance and wisdom from other dream experts like Urania and I. There are currently 7 dream experts, and every one of them is fantastic at what they do. You can get this app on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. One of the things too that I like about Dramicos is that if you sign up and download the app, then you get to be a part of a monthly free dream circle. This is a Zoom chat where a group of dreamers like you and myself get together and talk about a variety of different topics and share dreams, and it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't done that yet today, I highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, and the link is going to be in the description of this video, so you can check it out for yourself. And we would love to connect with you in that space too. All right, so Monkeybone. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you're the one who turned me on to this because I feel that I've seen it in passing, because is it from the 90s or the early 2000s?
So it's from 2001.
Okay. Okay. So early 2000s, right. So I remember seeing it in passing, but I never actually watched it. So do you want to just share a little bit about the movie, like what it's about, who's in it, and so forth?
Yeah, sure. So I love this movie. I have seen this a couple of times from my childhood to adulthood, and like I had said earlier, I had recently rewatched it and just fell in love all over again with the premise and all of the everything, because it is a like cherry on top type of movie. Like everything, all the boxes are checked off. But it's called Monkeybone, and it is directed and produced by Henry Selick. And if you don't know who that is, he is the director for movies like Coraline, Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach. So
That's funny.
he
I just watched that recently. For whatever reason, I was James and the Giant Peach. Anyway.
well, and you can see his influences
Yeah.
in the
No,
movie
I
as a
love
live
it. I think his
action.
style. Yeah. I love
Yeah,
his style.
it's incredible. And I even say, like, I was talking to my coworker about it today, and I was like, I almost feel like the movie Monkeybone could be in the same universe as Beetlejuice. Like
Yeah.
Henry Selick doesn't work on Beetlejuice, but it's like the same kind of energy, like the
Yeah.
same type of like campiness and artsiness and the dark, but you know, that dark comedy. It's
Mhm.
so, but yeah, it's directed by Henry Selick, and some of the people who are in it are Brendan Fraser. He plays the character Stu Miley. Rose McGowan, she plays Miss Kitty. Bridget Fonda, she plays Stu's girlfriend, Dr. Julie McElroy. Um, John Turturro plays Monkeybone. Whoopi Goldberg plays Death. Dave Foley plays Herb, and Giancarlo Esposito plays Hypnos. There's also other names like Bob Odenkirk is in it, which is like there. It's just the most random grouping of people, but
Yeah, I
it's
was
so
surprised to
good.
see Whoopi Goldberg because I didn't look to see who was in it. I mean, I knew the obvious, but yeah, then she popped in. I was like, wait, what? I was like, okay, this is fun.
No, and I love her as Death. Like she plays Death so well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so the premise of the movie is that the main character Stu gets into a car accident, causing him to fall into a coma. He then becomes trapped in the liminal space of nightmares. In this place, he ends up encountering his alter ego Monkeybone, and Monkeybone ends up then escaping the land of nightmares and stealing his physical form, aka body. So it's kind of like I don't know. It's a really fun adventure of this guy being stuck essentially in the dream space, but not just dream space. Like it's specific to nightmares and like having to.
Nightmares. Like it's his nightmare
It's
basically.
yeah, it
Plays
is.
on
It
that. Yeah.
is. So how did you like it watching it? Like what was your
I mean, I thought it was fun. I definitely want to watch it again because I was multitasking, of course. But yeah, I think overall I really liked because I didn't really the only thing I knew was that he went into a coma and I like honestly I didn't remember. I'm sure you shared with me where he ended up and everything, but I didn't remember that. So it was like just it was all like unfolding in real time for me. Like I had no idea where it was going to go. I thought some parts were really like realistic to like the dream experience or it just and it what really came through too I think the most was that like a lot of it played on his own personal nightmares but I looked at all of that as like oh my gosh this is just so silly like for me it's not a nightmare and so
yeah,
it just brought in that perspective of, how our nightmares are all different. Like what's a nightmare for me is not a nightmare for you and vice versa,
right,
right? And so I really was thinking about that and I don't know, it was fun. I thought it was fun and playful. I really enjoyed it. And I think it was a nice light way to approach that topic as well as, even approaching nightmares.
right. I completely agree with you. There were definitely aspects of the movie where like you really feel that dreamlike energy, like the feeling you get when you're in a dream that came up multiple times within the nightmare space, and specifically like his very specific nightmare. And yeah, it's such a cool take on being in the dream space. Um, One of the things too, like we're gonna discuss topics of Carl Jung. We're gonna talk about a little bit of Greek mythology that comes in, and psychology in general with dreams. But it just the more I think about it, and the more that I like go over it, the more I can be like, oh my god, and this symbolizes this, and this symbolizes that, and it's like it's a treasure trove of of just like I love it. I loved it. Um, but yeah, so I'm so glad that you watched it, and I am glad that you liked it. That was the
Yeah.
one thing I was like, these types of movies, even though you and I like a lot of the same things, some movies, I've really thought people would like, and they were like, eh. So I was
No, I
really
thought it was
happy.
fun. It definitely gave that vibe of like you were saying Beetlejuice, which I love.
Yeah.
And so whenever he was like whenever the scenes were in the liminal space, I really like that was just so much fun for me. And it was cool to see their take on like death and like the afterlife and also how to get out of the
Hmm.
liminal space or how he would wake up from the coma. Like all of that was very intriguing for me and fascinating because for me it was unpredictable as far as like the way the movie went because again I didn't read anything. I just Alexis told me about it and I kind of forgot whatever you told me, but I was like, okay, I'm going to watch it. Obviously, we're going to talk about it. And so it was a lot of fun because I haven't really it's not often where you watch a movie and it's not predictable. And that was a movie that was not predictable. And it was just fun because they're exploring dreams and nightmares at that, which is something I'm pretty comfortable with to a certain degree. So it was kind
Right.
of cool to see their take on it.
Absolutely. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is the main character Stu and his alter ego Monkeybone. So what I find interesting, and also I'm sure it feels a little like something against HIPAA or a medical malpractice, but Stu's girlfriend is actually his sleep doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So Stu had been having lifelong nightmares and decided to see a sleep doctor for his issues, and their relationship developed after he was a patient. But the trick that she taught him was experimental, and it was a way for him to deal with the nightmares. Since he was an artist, he painted a lot of his nightmares. So she suggested he use his non-dominant hand to create art, and he started doing that. And what he got was more cartoonish style, rather than his typical, surrealism, realism style for his nightmares. And doing this, he ended up kind of almost like repressing his nightmares instead of which I think as a sleep doctor, you're and I could be not really acknowledging the complexity of that position, but in the movie it doesn't seem like she's really psychologically advanced when it comes to sleep and dreaming. She's more aligned with the science aspect of sleep and dreaming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she was thinking of ways to end the nightmares, but not ways to deal with the nightmares.
Right.
So he created this alter ego with this trick, and it brought out this funny, goofy, crass, like idiot,
Provocative.
light-hearted version of himself, uh, as a way to distract himself from the dark trauma that had been causing these nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that aspect is very interesting. That instead of faith, and I feel like this is really important for people who are dealing with a lot of nightmares right now. Like the last thing you want to do is simply repress the nightmares and neglect and forget about them. Like you want to figure out what the messages coming through are so you can deal with it head on and allow it to pass so you can move through it rather than putting it in a box for it to kind of come out later in time.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's it. It gets into that later in the movie, but understanding the context of who Monkeybone is and what his purpose is really important. Um, Sorry, did you have anything you wanted to add with that? I'm sorry, I kind of went on a rant.
No, you're fine. I was trying to think if I did actually have anything to add because you said that very well. Yeah, I didn't even think about that too, how yeah, she was more from the science point, like she didn't seem like she was wanting to dig deep into it, but she also seemed like she kind of accepted both sides. Because there
Mm-hmm.
was at one point where I don't know if it was like her friend or colleague or something, but she was like, which one did you fall in love with? Like, like whatever like him before him with the nightmares or
Yeah.
like him expressing this energy of Monkeybone through his art, like the different, the way the art's even expressed. And so it got a little bit confusing, not like for the viewer, but I think just in the nature of that relationship, because like her work as his sleep therapist or whatever she was kind of almost took a back seat in a way to the relationship until he was in the coma. So then that's when it seemed that she kind of went back to that work. And it was interesting because, and if you really want to watch this, you might want to pause this because there are going to be a lot of spoilers and I don't want to hold back.
I forgot to say
So
that in the
yeah,
beginning. I
no,
was
it's
like in my head, I
okay.
was like, say spoilers, say spoilers.
Yes, they're gonna, we haven't really said too much, but now we're really gonna get into it. It was interesting because when she was trying to wake him up from the coma, she's like, oh, let's like turn up the nightmares, right? So she was kind of,
Mhm.
at first it was almost like a suppression of the nightmares, or let's just distract ourselves. Then it turned to let's have more nightmares, which
Yeah,
was interesting
the
because like,
nightmares are the key to waking up.
right, exactly. So I thought that was kind of on point.
And not
Like
just
that's not,
literally, like
yeah,
symbolically too. Your nightmares are a key to helping you wake up emotionally, mentally, psychologically. Okay? If you're kind of passively living through life and you neglect to face the darker things that you've experienced, the trauma that's been building up, there's going to be a point where you can't escape it. And the only way to move through it is to face it head on. And so that part symbolically, like not only just to wake him up from the sleep, but like symbolically wake him up. Hey, these nightmares are important. You can't just forget them. You can't just
yeah.
bypass them.
Hmm.
But so we'll get back to there too. But I love the so this realm of nightmares is almost like carnival themed, like carnival in the void themed. I love that. I love that. So he like falls through his body and he's on a roller coaster going down into the land of nightmares. And I thought right when he gets off, there's this station for your baggage, and it was I laughed so hard because the sign for it says psychological baggage, and when he opens up his luggage, it has like a couple anatomy dolls, a couple comic books, and then his personalized dream journal from when he was 10 of his visual drawings of his nightmares.
Hmm.
And that to me, I just like I love that, that's probably an aspect, like, as an adult he was having these very scary like like his dream as a night like his nightmare as an adult was like kind of, I would be freaked out if I had his nightmare.
Yeah.
Like I know like you don't really know until you experience it, but when you it's
But
very
the art
Salvador Dali,
itself,
it's very like almost alien too, like a multi-dimensional, like, but his child dreams are the playful, funny nightmares that encounter him in the nightmare space. Because if you notice, he doesn't the big nightmare that he kept having,
yeah.
it wasn't showing up in that dream or that realm of
Yeah.
nightmares. Like he had to kind of be pushed into it.
Hmm.
Um, but I love that aspect of picking up his luggage and it's psychological baggage. I thought that was so funny. Um, but yeah, so I think too, another little detail that pops out that I loved is that there's a theater called the Orpheum, but in his nightmare, it's called the Morpheum. And it just says on the thing, nightmares, uncut, continuous performances for popular prices. And it's the little details, like something that you wouldn't probably pick up when you first watch it. You'd have to watch it again or three times to really like see all these little things. But that's what I mean. Like when we check the boxes, like they really check the boxes. Um, and all the creatures, all the nightmares, because in the realm of nightmares you have the nightmare characters who are kind of like they're not trying to be scary, they're just like they're basically just doing their job, like that's what it seems like they're just
To him,
working.
that, yeah.
So you have the creatures who are the nightmares, but then you also have other people in comas.
Yes, that kind of like threw me off a bit. Like it
Yeah.
took me a minute to realize what was going on there until the one guy like got free.
Hmm.
So like the Reaper came and gave him like a free like ticket.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, so I'm like, is this his, it seems like his personal, but then there's other things going on, which that kind of makes sense and holds true to the dream space because it is like very personal to you, but then you have these random
Universal.
people, right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
random people, random things happening within your dream. And so yeah, and that I mean everything was it was just so on point, like even the way the creatures were and how they like there were some of them more animal type creatures and it was just weird and it definitely hit on the money with dreams because sometimes it just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, and when he was interacting with them, like they were like, "Hey, Stu, good to see you again." Like it's nice, like friendly. Like they weren't. they weren't very scary. Even the Grim Reaper was not scary.
Yeah,
Like it was kind of
yeah,
funny. Like
yeah.
Stu's getting pissed off, and he goes up to the Grim Reaper, and he's like, "Hey, where's my ticket? Like, what's going on here?" And the guy's like, "Sorry, I'm off the clock." And
Right.
like rides away like unbothered, which is just, it's so, the way that they created the characters, it almost kind of reminds me of like the Office style like humor too, like very like kind of dry in some ways, very like, I don't know, it just, it's so funny. But then, so he enters the land of nightmares, and he actually encounters his alter ego, which is very interesting because he begins to hate this creature he created to protect himself. And that fueled a lot of, like, you can tell, like, as the longer he's stuck in this space, the more agitated he is, and the closer to despair he becomes. He can't be around this aspect of himself that he created on purpose to like avoid the dark spots, which also reflects well in the way that we maybe function through the day to day, creating a persona to put off to other people, but it's not truly who we are. And I'm not talking about everybody. Some people live more authentically than others, but I know that it's common for people to put off a persona to the public. And, I kind of think about it. I'm like, okay, well, thinking about my, let's say, customer service voice that I use when I have to be professional. And like, if that was a alter ego of myself and I had to be in a room with just that version of myself that's like customer service, like, yeah, I would eventually resent that aspect of myself because it's not real.
Mhm. Yeah, and what's interesting too, just thinking about this persona that he created or to kind of distract himself, right? But then in this liminal space, he's had to really be present with it and kind of can't get away from it. And I thought it was interesting too, where he, like throughout his time where they're both down in that space, he keeps trying to get him to like go in the backpack. And it's like that's that kind of act of wanting to suppress this aspect of yourself. You're like, just get in. And
Mhm.
that, and then Monkeybone didn't want to do it. Like it was a whole fight. And, ultimately he couldn't really control Monkeybone. And so I think that was a good representation of, when there are parts of ourselves that we've created, but then we also don't really like because it's not our true self, right? It was like a coping mechanism or some sort of protection. And then over time, that can, take a life or gain a life of its own. And then when we have to really confront that, it's like we want to suppress it or we want to get rid of it. We don't need it
Right.
anymore, whatever the case may be, or it's frustrating, it doesn't align or whatever. And so I thought that was a really good representation of that suppression type experience and like not wanting to deal with it and just wanting it to go away.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And on that note, too, one of the aspects that I really liked about this is when the level of agitation and despair was rising in Stu, and the Grim Reaper goes to fly away on his bike. Stu goes and grabs a baseball and goes to chuck it at him, and Monkeybone grabs his arm. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm supposed to be the one that's out of control, essentially. And like, so this persona that Stu created to harness this energy or control this energy is now like, his feelings are seeping through the edges, and he's no longer able to be cool, calm, collected, and lighthearted. now he's getting Now he's letting his true self out because he has
Mm-hmm.
no other options. Like, when you reach a state of despair, like desperation, like think about when you were at your most desperate, like you couldn't control the way your emotions flowed. It's
Yeah.
just human nature. When you're at that point, you're out of control. There's you can't control the inside, so a lot of the times you can't control the outside. And I love that little detail of just like his alter ego being like, no, I'm supposed to be the one. like out of control. I'm supposed to be the crazy one, like the goofy one. Like you're supposed to be cool, calm, and collected. This isn't you, and but it is him.
Mhm.
And you know that aspect of like this because creating Monkeybone, he essentially separated from his shadow self, and like what
Yeah.
like it's now you're at a point where your shadow self and your light self now need to reconnect, reemerge so you can be whole. I love this. I just loved when I tell you this was such a fun movie for me to sit and analyze and take notes and break down. Like I have 8 pages, eight
Wow.
pages of notes, and I'm like, you know what? I think I need to approach all of our topics this way, where like I do the same kind of analysis in that way. I don't know. It's something works for me with that,
Well,
but
also that's like an indication of this being a passion. Like you're really, because it's like you can't stop. I mean, 8 pages is a lot. So I know, like, not in a bad way, but it's just, it speaks volumes to, just the enjoyment that you had of exploring it in this way. So, yeah, that's exciting.
it really it's so fun, it's so exciting, and I just you know again I'm sure there's going to be a ton of stuff that I'm going to miss, a ton of details that I'm not going to hit in this conversation, but that's like the beauty of entertainment that's jam packed with deep symbolic juice. Like you
Yeah.
just can keep there's just always still some left at the bottom.
Yeah. So do you have, I know you have tons of points. You're the one with 8 pages. I had like a little
I know I'm like
note.
trying not to go ham and like not go crazy with
Well,
the
let's talk about like the mythology because that was really cool to see.
oh yes.
Hypnos,
Hmm.
right? Is that the, yeah. So
Yep.
it's really cool to see these different themes come in because again, it was totally, everything was unexpected for me, and it was really, so I think it was, I really enjoyed it for that fact too because I wasn't expecting that.
I laughed so hard when I saw Giancarlo Esposito in that costume. Like
Yeah.
I cracked up because when if you guys have ever watched Breaking Bad, like he's like this like his outside persona is very like cheerful. He owns like a food restaurant and but like he's selling meth too. Like he's working in the meth industry and he's cold. Like
Mhm.
cold. Like he's got this personality that just like a sharp frozen knife. Like I just and then to see him in this goofy hypnos character where his like little legs and so, I just like
Yeah, that was really funny.
I thought it was just so funny. But yeah, it was really cool to have uh that representation within it, which makes sense because it's the realm of dreams.
Mhm.
And in this I don't know that much about mythology, but in this context, hypnos and death are siblings.
Yes.
And so adding that other layer of like kind of hypnos trying to be mischievous and do things that are gonna disrupt the way that death is kind of ruling her realm. And it was a cool storyline to go deep into. um
So I just searched, and Hypnos is the twin brother of Thanatos, which is death. So he's the twin brother of death.
right, and that makes sense in the
Yeah.
context of the movie too. So where hypnos comes in, I want to get to, but real quick, I want to touch on the scene where the Grim Reaper enters the realm of nightmares.
Hmm.
So when it comes to symbolism, color is a huge factor in movies entertainment. You use color to set a mood. And when we think of like in the movie The Shining, different colors emphasize different scenes and kind of add an intensity to it. So when the Grim Reaper enters the realm of the nightmares, where it's like red and things are loud and jumpy and fun, the entire space goes blue and it becomes silent. And it almost like you can feel how cold it gets just from watching the movie. So I really like that, especially because the character of the Grim Reaper is really not that serious, but it is at the same time.
Like it's
Um,
like a serious job. It's funny.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like an
yeah.
actual job.
And it happens again when the Grim Reaper comes. Was it the Grim Reaper? No, it wasn't. It was a little one of Hypnos's little guys came to deliver Stu the ticket to or the invitation to his pajama party.
Oh yeah.
Um but really important context to the movie is that in the waking space, when he goes into the coma, his sister comes and essentially is like, "Hey, so when can I pull the plug? When can I pull the plug? We made a pact. Like I don't want him alive, suffering." She's when you watch the movie, you'll get her energy. But anyway, and the doctor says 3 months. So there's already kind of like this timestamp of how long he has to escape the liminal space. Um, but back to the pajama party. So when you enter that house, the entire house is black and white, and Stu's pajamas are black and white, and you have creatures dancing, but then you also have like the mythological creatures dancing. I think was it Aphrodite who led him to Hypnos?
Yeah, I think
She
so.
was
Yeah.
gold with the wings, and she so she like was leading Stu to Hypnos, and that was really cool. Um, Actually, I'm even wrong with that. She led him to a sitting area, not Hypnos. And the sitting area had like this screen. It was like a bulb, like a almost like a crystal ball, but it was a
Yeah. Yeah.
screen. And essentially, he's watching his girlfriend's nightmare, and he realizes that it's her, and he ends up getting her attention. And that's the cool, like that is one of the coolest. So I feel like it brings to question like the merging of the dream realms, like
Mhm.
what we talked about with Dream Oracle for you know, dream walking. Like since he's stuck in this dream space, is he essentially dream walking into her space?
Right.
And then like on top of that, um, oh my god, what was I just about to say? Anyway, but he's able to communicate with her through the dream, and you know, ends up actually scaring her awake, which then leads to her having the idea of scaring him awake. Was there anything you wanted to touch on with that?
Um, I mean, you're just doing such a good job at
I'm
analyzing
sorry.
this. No, I mean, it's great. Um, I feel like I had something, but then I lost it. So yeah, just keep going.
Well, just stop me if it comes
But yeah,
back.
oh, I did want to just explain Hypnos, for those of you who don't know, is the god of sleep. Is probably the god of dreams, I'm assuming too, to some
Mm-hmm.
capacity. Yeah. So that's kind of the role he's taking. And then Death in the movie is Whoopi Goldberg. So Death is a female and their brother and sister.
Yep.
So just want to make that clear.
So yeah, absolutely. I think that was great because I would have completely forgot to even mention that. Um, but you know, when he after he essentially breaks the screen to her nightmare, he's brought to Hypnos. And Hypnos is like, "Hey, look, I know a way for you to get out of this nightmare space. You have to essentially deceive death and like steal a ticket to, you know, like an exit ticket to leave. And like I will here, let me bring you to the essentially the entrance to where you have to be." So him and Monkeybone leave the pajama party and go right into the land of death, essentially. And I think that's a really big indicator. Like for me, it's a big indicator, a red flag, because why would you be helping Stu? Like why are you helping?
Right. Yeah.
What's the reason behind it? Like you're mischievous. Like you're essentially the king of nightmares. Like you're feeding off of this energy. So why would you help him? But the detail that I think is very interesting about this is where you would think Monkeybone would be for being mischievous and stealing the ticket. He's actually against the idea. It's Stu who is like committed to going and doing it. And I think that shows kind of like the seeping out of the separation of the alter ego and himself, and kind of like that bleeding back in,
Yeah.
which I find very interesting. And yeah, like I said, this was the moment where in the waking space, Julie decided immediately, like, I need to do anything I can to like awaken him through his own nightmares. So she basically takes notes of his vitals, and she realizes that he's in a constant state of nightmare. So she decides, she's like, hey, look, we don't want to take away the nightmare. We want to induce the nightmare to as big as it can be, kind of mimicking what he did to her in her nightmare. She
Mhm.
wants to do to him, give him a nightmare so intense that he wakes up immediately. So that's what's going on in the waking space. But in the dream space, he's on the roller coaster to death. Like he's going down to the death, the land of death. And one of my favorite details, and I'm gonna kind of go a little bit maybe off topic with this a little bit, but on topic, is that when it pans into death, she's creating essentially like an open diorama of Pompeii with like little paper people, and she makes the volcano explode, and she's essentially like, ah, look what I just did. And that is interesting because it's supposed to be in 2001, but the destruction of Pompeii, which she seems to be like administering at that moment, makes you think like, okay, well, does death not have a consistent timeline? Time isn't linear in the realm of death. She's
That's a
like
good point.
playing with these aspects of time from a space where there's no time. So she can kill like she's like death is happening all through history, but it doesn't to her. It's like I don't know. It's just,
It's like all at once.
is it
Yeah.
multi-dimensional? Like is that how that would play out? It's a multi-dimensional thing where she can kind of just go in from here to here and here, and it not be linear. I don't know. It's so cool that she can kind of take lives from any point in existence at that like
Right.
wherever she is, the
Yeah.
liminal death space. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. The other aspect I thought was really funny was like the way that they're dealing with death certificates in this land of death is kind of like bills to veto, like very like
Oh yeah. Like
office-y,
very
like
adjudicator type vibe.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
like a judge, exactly,
Yeah.
yes. And like she's like stamping them and sending the Grim Reapers, who there are like tons of them, to go and collect these souls. And then she sees one where there's still life on this person. They're like, ah, who messed up this paperwork and gave me someone who's still alive, and like is frustrated by like essentially the paperwork being messed up. Um, so
Which
at
is
that point,
interesting to me because like that kind of goes with my line of thought, but then also not in the sense of like, I like personally, my personal belief is that we choose our expiration date, like our death date, supposedly. Like, I mean, like loosely. And so it's really interesting. I mean, you can argue that Stu was never meant to actually die because, and that's the thing, like, I was kind of, no, he did come back at the end. But yeah, but it feels like in the movie, it's kind of like we don't know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's like he really wants to be alive and he's like fighting to like wake up.
yep.
And so even when he comes out and it's not really him, it's Monkeybone, it was literally at the last second. And
Mm-hmm.
so it kind of goes aligned with that, if they're meant to die, if they chose this, which would be in the paperwork, which for
Right.
me, I mean, I can look at someone's birth chart, but I know there are timing techniques where you can, and I just refuse because I'm like, I don't want to go there. I don't need to know. Um, but that feels like that, like the contract, the agreement that it said that you make before you enter a lifetime, like it has like when you want to, you know, die basically.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of interesting to think about when, just considering that point in the movie where, they're discussing paperwork or just like, okay, this person no, this person yes. And so that makes me think too that in those moments, because if it's like, well, if they're alive or if you're making a choice, like what would have happened to be at that point where like, oh no, they still want to go on. So maybe it's like
Right.
also these people had like a near death experience or something. So you
Yeah.
can really go deep with that.
100%, 100%. And I completely understand not wanting to dive into that because, in my opinion, there are things that are sometimes
You
better
just
left
don't need to know.
unsaid.
Yeah, no.
And, we only have so many surprises in life. Like, we have a lot of surprises in life, but then, we also don't have as much as we'd like. So, like, why not let death be one
Yeah,
of the
let
things?
that. No, I'm
Why,
good on
like,
that.
I
I
don't
don't
want
need
to
to
know
know.
that I'm going to die in,
It's
like,
like
7
literally
years.
in oh, sorry to interrupt, but
No, no, no.
I literally have it in a book that I have because it's a part of the, and speaking of Greek too, it's a part of the ancient Hellenistic like astrology and their teachings and their
Mhm.
timing techniques. And I've used a few of their timing techniques and they're on point. Like it's crazy. Like it
Yeah,
completely broke down my perspective of like fate and free will
right.
at the time when I was learning it. And so there's like a chapter or probably more than one, but it's in the book and it talks about like how to see like the timing of people's, and I'm like, nope. Like I won't even go close to it because I'm like,
Right.
once I see something, then it's gonna be up in there.
I just
And
don't need to know.
I
You
don't
don't need
even
to
know. I'm
know.
good.
I don't need
I'm
to know.
good.
I already like to live my life like I could die tomorrow. I
Mhm.
I try to lead like, hey, if I die tomorrow, like if I die tonight in my sleep, will the day I ended on be like, worth it? Like my time is time is important. And so like, but to know just kind of puts a different, maybe it would fast track what you want to do in life. Maybe you'd be more like carefree about, spending money or going and doing trips and having adventures. Maybe that would be something that would be more helpful. But I feel like for a lot of people, it would just enact fear, and fear
Yeah.
paralyzes.
Yeah. And
But
then you make it a reality because it doesn't necessarily have to be set in stone. Who's to say it is set in stone? But once you see that, you can't unsee it.
right.
And
Well, it's
so,
just like
and for
we can
me,
we
I
can
don't need that.
we can predict the future. We can predict the future with pattern recognition. And the way for you to change your future is to change your patterns. So
True.
I can look at someone and see the patterns that they're stuck in and say, well, in this many years, you're going to end up in this place. But that's not a concrete place because you can change your path at any point. You
True.
can, but also there are other things you know, in your way that'll also change it. But that's a really excellent point to bring up. Um, but yeah, I love that. And I think it's so funny too, because it's like if death's just doing that all day, just signing paperwork and assigning like soul takers to do
Yeah.
that,
And
like
I love that it's more than one because
it's
I feel like
fun.
we think about it being one,
Hmm.
or at least that's how it's portrayed. But in this movie, that was something I was also surprised to see. I was like, oh, there's multiple.
And but
It's not
they're
just
just funny too, because
mhm.
essentially they're like the essence of a spirit or whatever in a cloth, and if you pull the cloth out, they dissipate. So they're
Mhm.
like they're scary in essence, but they're also hilarious. It's like you
Yeah.
pull the cloth off, and it's kind of like a fart noise, and they just disappear. And it's like, well, you're not that scary if you're that vulnerable, Like
Right.
there,
Yeah.
it just brings another aspect to that. So that's where we left off anyway. Is she was assigning Grim Reaper's souls to go and grab, and Stu and Monkeybone were in one of those cloths, and you know they end up stealing the exit ticket and running out. And just as they're about to leave, that's when in the waking space, Julie administers that nightmare-inducing drug, and it throws Stu into this. It's this black and white Salvador Dali type dream. He's a carrot essentially being held down to a surgical table by this massive doctor with this like ectoplasm type creature coming out of his eye socket and this giant eye, and like, you know, this nurse brings over this tray, and it's some kind of root, you know, vegetable, and but it's a head and it's talking in an unknown language, and its roots are kind of like flailing a bit, and just as he's about to be like get surgery on, like they're about to cut him open in this dream,
It's
Monkeybone.
like also like a depiction. It's like that nightmare that he already drew.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
so it's
that
like that's
they pumped up his nightmare drug.
yeah,
Like they gave him so much of this drug that it forced him back into the nightmare that led him to
yeah.
this whole issue to begin with. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was the nightmare he repressed by creating Monkeybone. So it was just this,
Mm-hmm.
you have the max amount of whatever this drug was that induced the nightmares, and he just full force in this nightmare that he had finally gotten away with, like gotten away from and repressed. So he was being forced to re experience it. But his, you know, alter ego Monkeybone right at that last minute literally tears open the dream, which is a cool concept to think about. Like you have access to like the dreams within the dream space, and like so he
Mm-hmm.
tears it open and grabs him and essentially saves him. But and then in that same breath is like, all right, cool, bye, I saved you from that dream, but now I'm going to go inhabit your body, and
Right,
goes
because yeah,
and
the free
inhabits
ticket. Yeah.
his physical form,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, is hilarious because trying to watch his this one aspect of his alter ego kind of be the main driver of this physical form in the waking space in reality, he doesn't know how to adapt. He has no idea what's happening. He doesn't know how to like function in society, which is like a lot of the humor but also frustration. And Julie is a freaking saint because let me tell you, that's a whole lot to deal with after having your significant other in a
Yeah.
coma for
Well,
three
it
months.
was funny. I was thinking about that too, because it's like she's just so happy that he's like awake and back that it took her a minute to like really catch on. I mean, she caught on after a
Yep.
while, but like so I can kind of get that, but it also made sense because it's like, sometimes they say, a coma, right, could be like essentially a near death experience, and people do come back changed. Like, I mean,
Yep.
he wasn't changed in the way that you would think, like, oh my, like completely enlightened or whatever. I mean, he does eventually when he actually comes back, but um yeah, I thought that was probably one of my favorite parts because of just like the body being like the physical body being a vehicle. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really enjoy. I was like, "Oh, I want to see how they're going to do this." And it was done so well. Like I just thought about how fun it probably was for Brendan Fraser. Wait, what, Brendan Fraser? Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
For him, like as an actor to like kind of switch roles. And I don't know,
Oh yeah.
I think it was really well done. And I like how the just representation of the physical body being the vehicle, um and also everything, it's like everything's happening inside, and so then it like comes out into this external world, which is also kind of like a dream in itself.
Right. And it also shows that like you can't really live life with that just one aspect of yourself. You have to have a merging of all aspects of yourself in order to function like fully, like to be whole. And you know, I love how Monkeybone was just living the dream in, because he also had expectations for what being a human was and having a
Yeah,
body,
that's
because
true.
he's just a part of Stu. He's not actually him, so he's not in the driver's seat. So watching him try to like acclimate and not really, you know, he's lost in the fantasy realm of it. Like he's really having fun, but that's very quickly ripped out from under him when Hypnos visits him in his dream. It is essentially like,
Oh, that was
you need to
funny.
stop messing around. Like, we sent you up here for a reason.
So that was a thing too. So there was like something going on,
Yep.
in the background, which, yeah, that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And I loved that whole, because I mean, the way that he laid it out was like, oh, well, if we don't have nightmares, then we're gonna disappear. So we need to make, like, and I'm sure Monkeybone brought up the idea of taking his body and kind of playing into that. And so they all helped Monkeybone to escape and take over that body so that he can administer more nightmares to the general public, essentially feeding them more.
mhm,
So that's where I want to go back to the dream space, though, is after he Monkeybone takes over the body, it goes back to Stu in the liminal space, and he is actually in essentially a jail cell, like Hypnos's prison,
mhm.
um, which I thought was such a funny detail because there are other people, notable people, who are stuck in this jail cell where the same thing happened, where they're essentially their alter ego or sidekicks took over their bodies. So you see Stephen King, and who stole his physical form? His alter ego Cujo. And then you
Mhm.
have Edgar Allan Poe, whose Raven stole it. And it's just so funny, like having these little things come through that are just so, like, you really, that's another aspect of like, this is, you're not expecting these things. Like
Yeah, no, it
they
was
come
really well done. Yeah.
they come out of nowhere. I mean, you like I said, you have Stephen King, Edgar Allan Poe, Jack the Ripper, Lizzie Borden, Attila the Hun, um, and at that point, he's stuck in this prison. He can't escape. There's no, like, there's nowhere for him to go or anything for him to do. And Hypnos comes in and he's like, oh, congratulations on essentially helping him to achieve this goal, and like explaining that, oh, it's not a person, it wasn't personal, like we didn't want to hurt you, this is for, we have to do this for survival. But he's like saying it in this very condescending tone, like, you can tell he's full of shit. And it's just so funny. And at this point in the waking space, Julie is really like, things are off, like this is not who I essentially fell in love with, like you mentioned in the beginning, with like, showing her colleague or her friend the paintings and whatnot. That kind of plays the role in where she's really acknowledging that something's off. And I think something that's important too to acknowledge is that their dog knows. So
Yeah.
their dog Buster knows that Stu's body is inhabited by someone else, and like is very aggressive and doesn't want anything to do with him and is just barking the whole time. Um so but back in the dream space, you have Miss Kitty, who comes to visit him in the prison and essentially apologize for not stopping the rest of the crew from going along with this plan. And before she's even able to say anything else, she's kicked out. That's when Monkeybone has that dream, and Hypnos comes through, and you know Monkeybone comes up with this idea for this toy to like expel
Hmm.
essentially the nightmare inducing drug that Julie gave to Stu originally. Um, and when it comes to Miss Kitty, so I wanted to bring this up because I, first of all, I love her.
Hmm.
I think she's pretty cute, and I love her design, and I love
Yeah.
like the way she like loves him. Like
Hmm.
there's a deep loving connection, and I truly believe that this is Stu's anima. So Carl
Yeah.
Jung's
Hmm.
definition for anima is the aspect of the unconscious in a man that represents the feminine, usually portraying emotions, love, and one's instincts. So if the archetype is friendly, it'll help the dreamer explore the unconscious. And essentially, that is what Miss Kitty does.
Literally what yeah.
She returns to the jail. She brings him. It's so funny. She brings him. She distracts Hypnos, steals the key, and brings him the key. But she also brings him like a a jar of milk and cat food. Like that's what she would eat, and like she wanted to nurture him in the
Mm-hmm.
way that she knew. But like she actually shows this love and commitment and genuine care for him, like none of the other characters do. So when you look at like what the enema is for Carl Jung and what that represents, 100% feel like Miss Kitty is that for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that brings us to his escape. So he escapes, and he purposely gets caught by Death, essentially explaining, like, hey, look, this is not what I wanted. Like, I had planned an engagement for my girlfriend. I just want to tell her I love her before, like, I'm essentially trapped here forever. And Death is like, you know what? Sure, why not? Go ahead, go on, go do what you have to do. And it's funny because she was like, it wasn't even him pleading; it was because she liked his comic, which I just thought was so funny. Um, so she ends up kicking his spirit back up into the waking realm, but he needs a body. So what does he do? He ends up essentially taking over the body of a cadaver that doesn't have a soul attached to it anymore, which makes me think more deeply about what souls are, what they're able to do, what they represent. And that whole
What
thing.
kind of touches on that concept of walk-in, where like the spiritual concept basically is like there's a moment, say like it can happen like in a near death experience, or it can happen just through like life, but maybe unconsciously until it actually happens.
Right.
But I mean, it can tend to be a traumatic experience or like a very profound spiritual awakening where your soul leaves and then another soul enters. Although I used to agree with that, but now my whole thing is like I'm like our body is in the soul. Like everything is in like the
Yep.
oversoul that has like that wants an experience and then it creates like extensions of itself, which are these
Right.
individual souls. So that's the thing I still am going to ponder as far as like the walk-in concept. But this specifically does kind of mirror that walk-in where it's like, oh, this body doesn't have a soul, like a soul left, and then another soul has to take its place, or obviously it's going to like decompose, so to speak. So that makes sense.
Right. And it's so funny too because the aspect of this cadaver is that it is an Olympian, like winner, and it has muscle memory. So he's able to navigate the world through the muscle memory of the cadaver, which is gymnastics essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So he escapes the hospital and goes back to the house to grab like the engagement ring, or at least just to see if she's there. And the dog recognizes him immediately for who he is. So the dog doesn't see him as a cadaver. He can tell that his soul is Stu, and actually ends up having the self-awareness to bring him a newspaper with the article in it, essentially saying that like he has an event that
Mm-hmm.
night.
Yep.
Um, so I just love that self-awareness of the dog to be like, this
Yeah.
is going on now and you need to take care of it. Um, so then you kind of go to the event, it pans to the event, and the essentially the person who's in charge of what Stu does with his comics, like merchandising and stuff, Herb, he's there, and he tests out one of the little toys that was um, made with the nightmare juice, to essentially spread to the public and force them into nightmares. So he tries it, and he ends up having this nightmarish experience. But it's interesting because he's having the nightmare while he's awake, and he's
Yeah.
he's he's physically in the waking space acting out his nightmare in the dream space. So he's essentially sleepwalking. I really it's such an interesting because
Yeah.
he's in the
Yeah.
bathroom, he's seeing himself, and then he starts being attacked by his clothes, so he strips off and he's running out, and but he's doing all the mechanism and stuff in real life. So I don't know if he's actually asleep or if he's almost like in a
I think
hypnagogic.
he's like, yeah, he's kind of in a
or even
Oh, yeah.
hallucinogenic.
Yeah,
Like
it was
he's
more like a
hallucinating.
hallucination, yeah. But his dream, that his nightmare definitely was like being like naked. I feel like had to do with that, like in a public event. So
Oh yeah.
that,
Oh,
so that was really interesting. I was like, okay, that's a common
absolutely.
one there. Yeah.
And yeah, and it is a common one. That's one of the universal ones. Vulnerability, feeling naked in front of a crowd, um, something probably most of us don't want to do. But yeah, and that's an interesting aspect. So, um, so back to Stu, he's in this cadaver. He has the muscle memory of the Olympian, and he like runs through town to get there. I don't even know if I can say run. He like jumps and spins
Yeah,
and
he's
like
swinging. Yeah.
all of the things that his
Acrobat.
body remembers from being alive essentially is being used. And Julie is leaving the event just as the cadaver comes up, and she is walking out, and he calls her a nickname that he used to call her in the waking space, and she acknowledges it, but she's still skeptical until the dog runs up and recognizes him. And so they have to work together to stop this, essentially this pinata at the event filled with all of these toys that have that special drug in it to induce nightmares. They have to stop people from indulging in that. So the other thing too is he has the ring, and he gives her the ring, and so like, yeah, she knows at this point that it's completely like separate, like they're two separate people, um but still being the same person, which is interesting in itself. And then of course, when he's trying to stop Monkeybone from administering all these nightmares, they end up in a chase, and they're holding on to this giant balloon, and they're flying through the sky, and the cadaver's organs are falling out, and all these other things, and finally the balloon is shot at, and they both fall to the ground, and they both are knocked out and sent right back to that realm of nightmares, where death arises in this giant like mechanical, I think she was like a samurai robot type thing, and catches them both, and then reveals that it's her like running the mechanism. And you know it's all a game for her, which I also think is funny. Like, I like her lightheartedness. You could like,
I
when you
like,
go back
yeah.
to like the Beetlejuice like aspect, like that's the energy that you give, like when people die and you get your caseworker, like it feels the
Mhm.
same type
Yeah,
of
it's
way,
literally, yeah.
which is fun. Like, I like that take on death. I feel like there's got to be, in my opinion, I feel like there's got to be this humor to existence. Like, there's a humor to existence. You know, but then, death kind of is like, you guys need to stop this. I'll send you back, but you guys are essentially being squished together, and you have to reconnect and fuse back before you can go back, because Stu's kind of boring without Monkeybone, and Monkeybone is out of control without Stu.
Mhm.
And it's like he had to face death in order to reconnect with his
Yeah.
you know, whole
So
self.
well, it was so well written. Like it was,
It's
yeah, it was so good.
fantastically written
Yeah.
and hilarious. Like,
Yeah,
I,
because it's
I
like
mean,
if you watch it without even this perspective, like you'll get some of that, but like it's also just entertaining in itself for you not to even have to go this deep. But when you go this deep, it like makes it even more profound, and you're just like, wow. So
yeah,
now I'm definitely gonna have to watch it again, like after having this conversation. So I'm gonna probably watch it this weekend.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was just so many synchronicities, so much rich symbolism, and so many spiritual points that were, you know, the walkabout or the walk in, the um like switching souls, so to speak, or like different, like who's in charge of like who's navigating the life.
The
Um,
merging of the realms and how
the
deep
merging
that
of the,
goes.
yeah, having to
Because with
come back into union and accept this aspect of yourself, like all aspects of yourself, them traveling in like inner and deeper.
yeah,
That's just, yeah, it was really beautiful. I
and
didn't
it
even
made
think
me think.
about Miss Kitty
Sorry.
being the enema. That was really good. That's probably like my favorite point that I've
It's
learned.
one of my favorite points
I'm like,
because it's so
yes.
true. Because if you watch the movie, there are other female characters, but this character has a soft spot for him, and it feels like just another, if you think about, okay, well, the creatures are his nightmares from being a child, and they're working at this place. Well, Miss Kitty's also working at this place. So she's also a part of him. And like in what sense? And just, how she guides and helps him through it, because it's scary and hard, and again, he's desperate and alone and doesn't know what to do. And but the aspect of like too, needing to have a confrontation with death in order to recognize like what needs to be um integrated, and how to move through life with acknowledging your whole self, and how many people it takes, like how often it takes for, you know I feel like there's a lot of people where they need to be confronted with something as serious as death or
Yeah.
death scare
Yeah.
for
And
them to
that's what happens.
recognize that
Yeah.
they need to focus on their life.
Yeah. And that's what really wakes you up and shifts you. So this was great. I really enjoyed this. I hope for those of you listening, Jace was here and he had several comments. He also mentioned um Behind Her Eyes, that series. I definitely want to watch that. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely that's on the list. And then he mentioned another movie. Of course, I can't find it, but called Dreamscape. And it's from the
Mm-hmm.
80s. So it's
Yep.
about psychics who were learning to get into people's dreams. That sounds cool.
Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a
So
whole
yeah.
list. Like when
Yeah,
I
we have
tell
a
you,
list.
there are so many examples in media, whether it's literature, movies, shows, art. There's so much reference to dreaming. And
Mhm.
I mean, there was a whole movement in the 20s and 30s with the surrealism movement that was
Yeah.
entirely based on the dream space. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting that we have all of these references and all of these hints, and yet we're so far away from considering dream work to be an important aspect of our day to day.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I like the dreams and media aspect so much, is because it is a reminder like, hey, you think you're just watching a movie, but then when you really dive into it, like look at all the synchronicities, look at all of the references, look at what the story is behind it. Look a little deeper through it and see
Yeah.
how it resonates with existence.
Yeah. That's right on point. So yeah, if you all have any dream or any media that you would like us to look into that's associated with dreams, definitely let us know. We'll add it to the list. We have a lot. And this year we'll definitely do a couple more. And so yeah, next week we are going to have an archive chat for you guys. So look out for that. We won't be live. But yeah, any last words that you want to share at all?
Just like you said, if you have media, entertainment, literature, anything that references the dream space, dream work, let us know. Even if we don't cover it on the show, just to have like
Yeah.
our own experience with it is important. And you know now that we're going to be going into the waning stages of the moon, pay attention to the dreams and the dream topics, symbols, and themes that come up for you, and feel free to share that with us too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I guess we're done. So thank you everyone for watching, for listening. Feel free to like this video if you enjoyed this. Feel free to share it with someone. subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram and Spotify, all of those things. And we won't be live this coming week, but then the following week we will be back.
Yep.
All right. So sweet dreams, everyone.